Hello, and in this video I'll be going over adminning of Git. If you have not seen any of my how to use GitKraken Studio 2.0 videos, I will recommend watching them so you can understand some of the sections. Let's begin by defining the software we will be using. We will be using github.com for the remote/server, and we'll be using GitKraken for the client software to interact with Git. Git is the backbone of all of this. You might be wondering, why do we need this? Git provides better workflow for everyone on the team. You don't want to use a USB stick or Google Drive as that can cause issues. What you want to do is seamlessly get and modify the current project and have every member on the team to be able to access it at any time. To state, this is for the person who will be managing and running Git, and also for the build engineer later on. If you're the build engineer, go to the build section. So, if you're not planning to be a Git engineer, then please just watch the video series called How to Use GitKraken Studio 2.0. I will show you one of the ways to set up and manage the repo. One is setting up an organization and the other is directly on your account. The benefit of using an organization is that you get access to features like better branch protections, pull request restrictions, and organization roles. Creating a repository on your account is also good. You do not need to create an organization unless you know how to use Git and you are willing to do a lot of Googling. Let us start by setting up the repository. First, you will need to open up github.com on your web browser. I will show you how to create a repository on your account, as this is simpler. But if you want to use any advanced features, feel free to look into an organization. It is free to set up. Go to the repositories page or homepage on github.com, then click the new button. You'll be on the create repository page. You'll need to give it a name. Don't worry about the names too much, but personally, I use dev names, like code names of sorts. You can use the generated names GitHub provides. You can always change anything later, but limit changes that can cause merge conflicts, otherwise you'll be sorting out a large mess. Remember to communicate to your team as well, because they need to know any major changes too. You do not need a description. Make sure it is public. If it is private, it will prevent people using GitKraken, as you need Pro to open private repositories. You can sign up for Student Developer on github.com to get GitKraken Pro for free. Click Generate a README. This is your repository's cover page. For the Git ignore, you will select Unity or Unreal depending on the game engine you are going to use. It is very important to generate a Git ignore to prevent uploading the engine itself. It saves space and time. We don't care about licenses unless you want one. Use an MIT license for open source, as it means you are not reliable for anything that happens. Create the repository. Once you create a repository, you'll be taken to its repository's view. Overview of important tabs. The Issues tab is where bugs should be logged and tracked. Have a look at the issues/bug templates and GitHub Markdown. The Pull Request tab is where your team should go to merge their feature branches into staging. You can also see open and close pull requests. You can use #issuenum in the pull request descriptions to close them in the pull request. The Wiki tab is for code and tool documentation. This is for any code and tools your team created, and they should update and maintain it. You will want to go in the Wikis tab on the repository view and set it up. Click the Create First Page button. You do not need to add any text here, just click Save Page and that's it. You also have the Releases tab, well, link. On the repository page, you can click on Releases underneath the About section. This is where you/build engineer will add the build. I'll cover building the game later in the video. Now, let us adjust the settings. Quick thing about the branches. There are three types of branches. Master, which serves as a backup and the current release state. Staging mixes all the feature branches together, and the feature branches are made by your individual team members. But first, we need to create a staging branch before we can adjust the settings. You can do this on GitKraken or on GitHub. The staging branch will branch off master. On the repository's homepage, look for the branches button. It should be next to the master, main, or staging branch dropdown. Once you are on the branch page, you can then click new branch. Call it staging with a capital S. Now, we need to sort the settings. Go back to the repository page and click on the settings tab to open the repository settings. We need to set staging as the default branch. You want to make it as easy for the team to do work to prevent issues. On the general section, look for the default branch. Change this to staging. Feel free to look at other settings I have not covered in the video. Remember to Google them. Go onto the collaborators tab. Here is where you will add your team members. They cannot do work if they do not have access. Also, make sure your team create GitHub accounts, as that is required. On the branches section, we want to prevent access to master except for you and the build engineer. Master is the backup branch and data only goes in and not out. Data flows down from the feature branches into staging and then finally into master. Click the Add classic branch rule set button. The branch name pattern is the name of the branch to protect. The name of the branch could be main, master, or something else. So whatever the default branch was originally, that is the target branch we want to protect. And yes, this is case sensitive. Enable will require pull requests before merging. This will prevent anyone from merging immediately. If you are using an organization, you can restrict who can push to matching branches. This helps prevent work from being directly added. But remember to remind the team to not touch master. At the bottom, enable allow force pushes and deletions. Under the force pushes, select the option called specify who can force push, then add the get engineer and build engineer. You can use the webhook section to add logging into Discord if you ever want that. If you're using an organization, make sure to add GitKraken to the organization OAuth app policy and grant access. Make sure there are 2 GitKraken applications. It is time to add the game engine to the repository. Now, depending on the gitignore you have selected, it must match the same engine. Unreal gitignore only works for the Unreal engine and vice versa. Clone the repository onto your computer, make sure OneDrive is gone and killed, and I mean make sure it's gone. If you need OneDrive, use your downloads folder. Otherwise, you can put the repository anywhere. Once cloned, create a branch off of staging and call it setting up the engine. I will show you Unity, but it's the same for Unreal. Make sure you have the correct version installed. Use the versions at university because you cannot install any other versions at university without admin. And if people cannot access at uni, then no work can be done. One very important thing for Unity is to make sure that you are using a graphics render pipeline. Unity has 3 render pipelines. The built-in render pipeline, this is the lightest of the engine, but you lose important tools such as camera stacking, decals, and shader graphs. The HDRP is the super heavy and similar to Unreal but less performant. The URP should be the one you use for every studio using Unity. It has the tools we need and does not destroy computers. You can still have a very nice looking game with this render pipeline. Remember to select Universal 3D and install it if you do not have it. Don't worry about the name, this will not matter once we add this to the repository. The location can be anywhere, ideally select the same location as the repository folder. Make sure to disable Connect to Unity Cloud. Create the Unity project. Now we need to go to the Unity project on the file browser and copy everything inside the project folder Unity created. Go to the repository folder, it's the one with the gitignore, and then paste the assets. This is the same for Unreal as well. Now, if you need to add any packages such as export to FBX and ProBuilder, do that now. Open the repository folder inside Unity and add the packages. Once you are set, close Unity. Open GitKraken and create a commit, and push to that branch. Now we need to merge your branch onto staging, and then staging into master. Once you have merged everything, you can then delete your feature branch. You are now set and ready for Studio. You will handle Git support for members on the team. This is mainly recovering work and dealing with merge conflicts. This is for the build engineer, building the game. Now you want to build the game and add it to GitHub. You can go on to staging directly, no branch is necessary, but I'll recommend creating a branch off of staging. You will then build the game and test it. If you get any errors, follow the procedure you or anyone has created. If you do not have one, just make a message in Discord and send the errors from Unity into Discord and contact the leads. If the build is good, change the version number and then create a commit and push. Merge your feature branch into staging if you have created one. Once you have merged, or if you have done it directly on staging, merge staging into master. Now, go to the repository GitHub page, and then go to releases. Click Create a New Release button. Click on Choose Tag and follow the formatting you have been using. I normally use x.x.x, so 0.1.14. Then, click Create New Tag. Make sure the target is master and not staging. The title can just be the version number. If this is the second or more release, you can manually set the previous version tag. Click the Generate Release Note button. This is using the messages from the pull requests, hence why the pull requests are important. In the build folder, remove any temporary files. Unity generates a folder. Use 7-zip or a zipping tool to zip the build. Drag the zip file onto the attached binary section, or click that section and select the zip file. Now, an important step. Wait for the build to be uploaded, or you will need to re-upload it again. Remember that you have a maximum of 2 GB you can upload. If the game exceeds this, then your team needs to reduce the file sizes. This is normally levels, models, or textures. Now you can click the Publish Release button. In the URL on your browser, you can copy it and use that to link to this release page. Post that in the builds channel once you're done. Congratulations, you just made a game build. So that's it for this video. I hope to help you in creating and setting up Git for this studio and also building. Remember, you can always Google, and I also have other videos.